Liked by the sound of violence.
Before I get into any of our questions, is there any questions that you wanted to ask each other? Had each other questions?
Yeah, man. I'd like to ask Jorge a question. When are you going to join the antitrust lawsuit?
He's not even straight up. One point.
We ain't fucking around here, bro.
Straight to the point.
All right.
I was just telling you about the antitrust lawsuit. When are you going to join us, man?
I think I can't say no to Mark, man. I'm glad he's not asking me to rob a bank because I'd have to say yes to anything you say, Mark. I'm saying yes to.
Are you excited about it all?
What up, everybody, and welcome back to yet another Sound of Violence podcast. We are an MMA podcast to let you know the MMA podcast to catch, skip, and not miss, as well as we try and check out a new show. I am Pulver, and I am back yet again with my co-host, Chris Madaffer. How's it going, man?
It's going all right, except it sounds like you're trapped in a vacuum. I could barely hear you.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, there you go. Now you're back to normal.
Hey, there we go.
Okay.
It's been a crazy week for MMA podcasts, right?
Yeah, man. It's been there's been certain MMA minds out there, once they consider themselves MMA minds, that certainly drew a lot of reactions.
Shocking. Well, that's because everyone decided to give morons attention this week.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get into it. I have some thoughts of it of my own.
You and I both, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a crazy
man,
week.
it's all right.
So can you guys tell Chris is sober this month? Because that is what we're about to segue into. We normally, this is where we do the Pop-Off Vodka presents, Doug Stanhope presents our sponsor. But instead, let's go with the TJ DeSantis presents our sponsor. Chris, what are you drinking on this week?
I think you can get these at Costco. I'm definitely going to butcher the name. It's basically Japanese unsweetened green tea.
Ooh. Yeah, you would butcher that name considering it's all pictures.
Yeah. It just says it's Japan's #1 green tea. So, yeah. Take that as you will.
Well, that's what's up. I fucks with some green tea. Green tea makes a really good chaser.
I bet.
I am drinking hard because it is, I think we are, what is it, Friday night? So it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We are 4 days away from Mardi Gras, and I am so motherfucking excited. So this week, I am drinking, we went up to the brewery up in Anaheim. We actually went up to the, oh God, what do they call the barrel room one? Brewery Nouveau? That sounds wrong, but it's something like that. It's not that, but it's something like that. It's the barrel room. Terroir. Anyway, I'm drinking Royal Street Sweets, which is a fucking fantastic beer. Here, I'll read you the description. Since you're not drinking, I'm really going to rub this in this week. It is inspired by the savory New Orleans native treat, Bananas Foster. Royal Street Sweets is an imperial stout featuring hand-peeled bananas, vanilla beans, fresh cinnamon, creating liquid decadence fit for the heart of the French Quarter. Good God, I wish I could read in this lighting. Oh, well, now it's going to go to French, so it's not going to get better. Pass a good time avec vos amis et les bon temps roulés. So, yeah, no, it's fucking, by the way, it's fucking delicious. It is it's not that strong. I think it's like 9%, but it's just like a super creamy, like vanilla-y stout with hella banana, like fresh banana though. It's really good.
Yeah, that sounds fucking incredible, especially all those notes combined in a stout.
Yeah, it's like somewhere between banana bread and a Bananas Foster, kind of. It's fucking so good. We picked up a 4-pack of it when we were at the brewery, and man, is it fantastic. So that is what I'm sipping on.
Nice, man.
Sweet. Well, we will go ahead and get right into format and kick this shit off, since it has been a crazy week in MMA podcasts, and we've had all kinds of stuff happen, including... I should start off with the news, which is a new segment that I always forget to do. So recently in podcast news, we had the return of Collapsed MMA, one of my favorite podcasts for a very long time. It's, of course, on the Between Rounds Network. It was formerly TJ Sanchez and Jordan Breen, looking back at old UFC cards and kind of breaking them down. Not just UFC, old MMA cards. And now Jordan Breen has been swapped out with Brandon from New Jersey, who anybody from the Sherdog Radio Network listener days would definitely know. I'm excited to see that TJ freed Brandon, and it's very cool to see that show back. Also, the MMA Roadshow announced that all of the and a half EPs are going to be moving to Patreon going forward. However, they're also going to be able to start doing it more consistently because they're going to be on Patreon. So that's pretty cool. And I think it's like $3 a month is their minimum on Patreon. So
That's not too bad.
yeah, and they're the and a half EPs, if you guys don't know, or I should say, and a half, are the ones where John Morgan and or Cold Coffee, if he's still around or not editing, they sit down after a card and do like a brief recap episode. They're a lot of fun. And then the saddest news of the week, maybe of all time, which will come up again in this episode. Can we just take a moment of silence, Chris? I'm just going to take a sip of this beer, and we're just going to take a moment of silence. RIP to our best new show of 2019. Well, actually, which unfortunately saw its last episode this week, which we will talk about again in a bit. But really bummed that show ended. Evidently, from what Fernando said on the last episode, it sounds like The Athletic is cutting down on some of the podcasts they're doing. Bad choice by The Athletic for Fernandez to be one of those, because her show is fucking the best, but we'll get to it later. But unfortunately, yeah, that show's coming to an end. So it's, from what I've heard so far, it seems like Chuck Mendenhall and Sean Al-Shadi are still doing Man in the Myth, and I haven't heard anything about Josh Gross's show going away yet. So I'm keeping an eye on those. But man, am I fucking bummed that Fernando Proces's show ended. And yeah, we will talk about it. So that was the news for this week. So now we got through that, Chris, why don't you start us off on our format and let people know what the MMA podcast you recommend people catch this week is.
So if I recall, I have multiple catches. I won't mention the one. The one from our intro is a catch for me.
Yeah, you want to go to that one?
Yeah, we'll do it and just do that. The HalfCast podcast, hosted by Tyson Pedro, and usually it's Tai Tuivasa, but Tai Tuivasa right now is at AKA in San Jose. So
yeah, training with DC.
Which is an excellent choice. I'm glad he made that choice to go train there.
100% needed that, because he has even said on that podcast his entire takedown defense game was just an uppercut. So that is it's a positive move for sure. And apologies for the name of the rugby player, or I should say footy player. I got you if you keep talking.
Yeah, he was also to the left of Tyson, or to the right of Tyson Pedro. They had an interesting little split format.
Andrew Fafita.
Thank you. Their two guests, I should say, were Jorge Masvidal and Mark Hunt.
Yeah, as you guys heard on the intro, Mark Hunt basically started off the episode straight up asking Jorge Masvidal, like, so you joining the antitrust lawsuit that I told you about? Just straight up the gate, which is amazing. And yeah, that episode just kind of went from there with all of the Aussie accents.
Yeah, I know. Jorge, he said he's been enjoying Australia and the great food that's there. Talking about Melbourne, or as we Americans say instead of Melbourne, that's really pronounced. Mark Hunt first asked, about the antitrust lawsuit, which is what you heard in the intro. They talk about Mark. They said, what sports did you play growing up? He said originally he was a very good rugby player, but then he went to jail. After he got out of jail, fighting was his new path. He explains what the antitrust lawsuit is all about and how the UFC is scummy for not paying fighters what they deserve.
Yeah, he even brings up the. Sorry, that was a close one. I almost spilled this beer all over the place. Oh, still kind of did. Okay, it's just getting all over me now. No, he brings up the fighter pay, like the revenue share.
Yeah. He said it was like 16.
He said 4. I think he said 4, but it's actually 16. Yeah.
Yeah, something very grossly. They're all being grossly underpaid.
Shocking.
Mark says, "Yeah, Jorge, I first saw you when you were fighting in backyards on YouTube. But then they met each other officially after Mark joined American Top Team in I think 2006 or 7, something like that. Might have been 8.
When Jorge joined them?
Yeah, because Jorge says he's been there for a long time.
I don't think Mark was ever at. I think that's what Tyson thought, but then they actually ended up meeting.
Okay.
I forget where, some event or something.
I think it was at a fight promo or an event in Japan. I think that's what Jorge was talking about. Jorge talked about Kimbo Slice meeting him at ATT. Evidently, Kimbo Slice trained at ATT for a bit.
Towards the end of his career, that's where he was. He was with ATT during the Dada fight, if I remember.
Yeah. Tyson Pedro says he believes that a lot of successful fighters come from adversity. I think a lot of fighters would agree with that or attribute some of their success to that. Jorge says he knew street fighting was only temporary because even when he was sleeping out of his car, he says he knew his hands would get him to success. Mark says a higher power got him out of trouble. I know a lot of fighters are religious, and hey, if that's your thing, man, good on you. You know, whatever you need to get you to success, all the power to you. Mark said he started getting into fighting after he got into too many fights at nightclubs. And he said one time a bouncer, he's like, dude, you keep coming back, keep getting into fights. So he offered to train Muay Thai with him at his gym that he was at, which I think is an interesting way to get into MMA.
Definitely.
Jorge said he started boxing, wrestling at age 13. He says striking to wrestling is the most difficult transition in all mixed martial arts. I would agree with that.
For sure.
I mean, even though I don't train in any martial art at the moment. Just the level of just how complex understanding. It's just two different worlds.
Well, and he explained it well in the episode too. Like you're using entirely different muscle groups, you're using entirely different techniques. Like none of the timing or any of that is at all the same. So it's definitely interesting to hear him kind of like talk about that. And people forget how fucking both Mark Hunt and Jorge are two people that people kind of sleep on because of the way they talk. The Diaz brothers get that too, where they're like, all of those dudes are really, really bright, but they're bright in like a very specific kind of way. And people kind of, just because of the way they talk, they kind of gloss over the actual, like, these dudes are real smart, but they just, since they have a slur or since they like have a calm or a relaxed pattern of speaking, people don't take it as serious. And until afterwards, where you see motherfuckers rereading Nick Diaz quotes, and you're like, this is kind of beautiful.
Yeah, I know I shouldn't be I found a way to I can actually airdrop my notes from my phone on here. So it's nice. I don't have to fucking look at my phone.
Oh shit, guys! Chris is about to suck dead Steve Jobs' dick for a minute. Yo,
just a little bit.
Yeah, just the tip.
Yeah, I just got to be a necrophiliac just for a little bit.
Right.
Yeah,
No, it's like Code Light Blue,
Yeah, they have their favorite fighters. Mike Tyson's answer. Jorge's is Roberto Duran. Tyson Pedro likes Lennox Lewis. I like that answer. They asked Jorge, what's the most powerful shot you've ever taken in a fight? He says Paul Daly and Darren Till punched him the hardest.
I mean, two of the hardest hitters on the planet, especially Paul Daly. That motherfucker has insane power.
Yeah, his fucking nickname is Semtex.
Well, and his hook that he's crushed just about everybody in the world with outside of Nick Diaz.
Yeah, I shouldn't ramble on. Mark Hunt swam with sharks. Tyson Pedro said he did that as well as his scariest experience of his whole life. Fan questions are pretty good. Hey, Mark, how much KFC do you eat regularly?
Yeah, and they say New Zealand and Australian KFC is totally different than US.
Yeah, they said they have like a KFC spice or spicy or heat. It's called KFC Heat.
Yeah,
it's like a spicy KFC restaurant. That sounds interesting.
I'm curious if it's just Tennessee, and they don't realize that Tennessee.
It's probably just that. Yeah,
it's just
the Nashville hot chicken.
Yeah,
KFC.
100%. It's probably just Nashville, and they're like, well, if we call it Nashville, nobody's gonna know what the fuck that means. So
yeah, Tennessee fried chicken. Yeah. TFC doesn't sound as good. Yeah, they asked Jorge, KFC or McDonald's. He says both.
That checks out because Jorge fucking loves McDonald's, dude.
Yeah. They said 5 people, dead or alive, you would love to have dinner with. Some of these answers were very similar. Jorge says, I'd love to have dinner again with Roberto Duran. He said, J-Lo, I'd love to have dinner with her. He said, A-Rod cannot come.
Yeah. Shakira was on that list also.
Shakira, Dave Chappelle. And then he said, David Blaine has to be there. He's like, fuck it. Everyone's going to have dinner with me at the same time. So David Blaine could do magic tricks.
I like how all these dudes are outing themselves as being into 40-year-olds. Like,
yeah.
Really?
And then, of course, Mark Hunt, they asked him, like, hey, who would you love to have dinner with? He's like, James Dean and some astronauts, maybe. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Mark Hunt's an interesting dude. Like, you forget how, just because of the way that dude talks, he's real smart.
But yeah, I know I kind of went on and on, but that's what I had for that. What else did you get out of that? I thought it was an entertaining podcast.
That's what I had for that one. But yeah, it was really good. I had a lot of fun with that episode. And I mean, I always like that show. It's always enjoyable, especially when Mark Hunt's on, because whenever you get more than 2 Australians on a mic, it automatically becomes a good podcast. I'm pretty convinced. Actually, maybe it's just the number is 2. Because I can't think of a podcast that isn't good that has two Australians on it. Shouts to Submission Radio.
Yeah, shouts out.
I think it just gets better and better the more Australians you put on a show. Shouts to Jess, always improving with fighting as well. So maybe Australians are secretly the best podcasters, and we don't know about it yet. But yeah, it was a really good episode for sure. One of the episodes I had as a catch, because I actually have a couple, is The Writer and the Fighter, episode 58. This is the show hosted by Jake Smith, who's a fighter for Bellator, recently fought, was it Adam Piccolotti? I'll look this up while I'm talking. But Jake is currently cutting weight, so he is a lot of food talk, which is kind of the best part about this show. I'm not gonna lie. It's always good when him and his co-host Dave Golden, who's a writer for Oregon Sports News. Yeah, it was Adam Piccolotti. So David Golden and Jake Smith, they are good buddies who live up in Oregon, and it's hilarious when they start talking about food because they're both just big fat kids at heart, and being a fat kid at heart, I 100% love it. This was the show that I believe last week we talked about Jake Smith eating sleeves of Oreos, which is always good. But they open talking a lot about food, everything from fucking Pop-Tart flavor to cereals to fucking snacks. It's ridiculous. David ups people on their secret Pop-Tart game that people don't know about, where evidently there's like Hostess cupcake Pop-Tarts now. It's really crazy.
Wait, there's Pop-Tarts that are Hostess cupcake flavored, or it's like a fucking fusion? Because that sounds really.
It's supposed
insane,
to be.
Not surprising.
No, it's supposed to be basically a combination of the two, and it's supposed to be amazing. I don't really fuck with sweet stuff except for this stout, so. But yeah, it's supposed to be good. But anyway, they talk a lot about that. They talk about the Rio Rancho card and who should fight John next, Jan or Reyes, which I feel like everybody kind of went over. They talk about how much smaller Diego was compared to Pereira, and how
that was
just that entire ridiculous ass thing.
It just looked like he was fighting a fucking middleweight.
Yeah, it's insane. And then Jake, towards the end of the card, talks about training with Vargas and how fucking dirty Vargas is. Vargas, you guys would know from absolutely annihilating the face of Brock Weaver while he was sitting on his ass with a knee. He was the first DQ of the night, the one where he absolutely knocked the dude unconscious with an illegal knee, and like the most egregious thing I've almost ever seen, except for no, you know what? You weren't with me this year for the fights at the fair, huh?
No.
There was a really bad soccer kick at the fair this year that was almost as egregious as that, but no, it's just the most illegal shot, so They talk a lot about that, and Jake talks about training with Vargas in the past, and like basically that dude just refusing to spar and constantly just like trying to fight and doing a bunch of dirty shit, like grinding your chin in their eyeball and shit like that. And then
sounds like a stand-up guy.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it's a really good episode of Writer and the Fighter. I love the fuck out of that show. They're hilarious, and I wish more people listened to it. So absolutely, the Writer and the Fighter episode 58. You should definitely check it out. Cool, man. Did you have any other catches for this week?
Yeah, I had one more. Quickly mention it. The fuck? Sorry. I know I'm trying my best not to fall asleep right now, but I did have McDonald's earlier, and it's not what I ever eat.
Also, we should know that if we sound echoey this week, it's because Chris is at his dad's house, and I am in a new room in my place. I'm starting to get like a studio setup, as you guys can see. Except it just looks like where I used to be before I moved into the other room. So I don't know how different it looks on camera, but it's way different. Over there's a bar in a closet. I can point. Here, I can point you at that. Here, look, there's a bar in a closet over there. See? It's pretty cool. But anyway. So what were we talking about? Oh, right, your other pick. What was it?
Yeah, Fights Gone By was good.
Yeah. Was it the one from just recently?
Yeah, just recently. Jack, he had a great breakdown of the person that I alluded to. What's his first name? Fabia, that piece of shit.
Yeah, Labia.
Is it Fabia? Labia?
Yeah, it's Labia.
It's labia. I kept hearing Fabia. I was like,
yeah,
maybe
no, it's definitely labia. It's definitely women's genitalia.
Yeah, well, maybe it's Fabia because he's a fraudulent I don't know. He's just a fraud.
Yeah.
That guy's a fucking idiot.
It's episode 196, by the way, of Fights Gone By. And yes, 100%, he is the biggest snake oil salesman in the sport, and signing close.
Yeah, his interview with Luke Thomas Jackson is very cringy. I tried listening to it, and the first fucking thing that comes out of that dude's mouth is, do you ever heard of invisible pressure? I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I can't do this.
And it's way worse.
Luke Thomas is just like, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently Ariel even had difficulty dealing with this guy. He didn't like shut down part of the interview. So this is by someone's comment on Reddit saying it's like they're like, you know,
to it. I didn't.
Someone said, you know, you're fucking weird if Ariel's like trying to shut you down.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, apparently this guy is Diego's coach and his manager. So that's what Jack had to say about that. He says, we know Ray Borg's been dealing with insanely crazy personal issues, but at this point he has to do his job and make weight. Now he's officially at 135. He briefly talked about Jan knocking out Corey Anderson. He said, I willed Felder versus Hooker into existence. He says, this card, you take what you're given. It's not too bad of a card. He says he realizes Felder versus Barboza too, which was when Abu Dhabi, it was on the Habib Poirier card. He says that was a really close card, but he said he initially sided with Felder. And then he just kind of breaks down how he thinks the fight's going to go.
Right. Was this the one? Maybe I'm thinking of a different one. Is this the one where he also talked about he did like a big speech on catch wrestling where he talked about like the history of catch wrestling and Frank Gotch and all those dudes?
Probably, because I didn't actually finish listening to the entirety.
I think that's what he talked about towards the end. But yeah,
okay.
It was cool hearing him talk about all like the shitty huckster fucking woo woo coach shit that one cunt was doing.
Yeah, you got to get sticky, and then you got to go 100. No, when I say 100, it's not 100%. It's Diego. You got to do your 100 punches when you're in his face.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
I don't know, man. I mean, I tweeted this to Sean Sheehan as a question for his Q&A. I don't want to see. Number one, I already kind of don't want to see Diego fight anymore. But number two, like, everybody as a community is kind of making yucks about Diego hanging out with a person who's robbing him. And it feels fucking gross. Like, everybody's just kind of playing it off like, oh, isn't it crazy that Crazy Diego's hanging out with the dude who is clearly robbing him? And isn't it weird? And he's like just a fucking sham. Everybody seems to be kind of okay with it. Yeah, we're like, well, yeah, why don't we talk to the fucking huckster? I don't know. It feels like Ito Portal, but like way grosser. Like if Ito Portal was helping fucking Chris Lieben, is what it feels like. Late career Chris Lieben is what it feels like. And I love Chris Lieben. I don't mean that as an insult.
Or Touch Butt Connor.
No. I mean like somebody like, because it's different if it's like, it's funny if it's Connor because he's like doing well in his career. It didn't really like. It's way worse if it's like. Fucking who's a real Chuck Liddell? Like, Chuck Liddell is hooked up with a fucking.
Yeah, it's worse for people that are already out of the prime end of their career, and
you're clearly
it's
just
easier for him to
robbing
take advantage. Yeah,
it's gross. It's gross, and I hate that everybody's giving him fucking props. So, from now on, how are we gonna refer to that dude? We need to think of a fucking very insulting name to call that dude going forward. That's not actually his name.
Fuck, what was the name of the slimy motherfucker on Deadwood?
Oh, that's exactly...
was it like EB, that motherfucker? The guy who always answered to Swearingen, he's always had sweaty palms. What's that fuck? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, and I can't remember his name.
Hold on, I'll look it up right now.
Okay. Oh my god. I wish I could remember
that motherfucker.
Because, yes, 100% that's what we're calling it from now on. You look that up.
Okay.
I'll talk about my next one.
Okay.
But, yes, fuck that guy. He's a bad person.
It's E.B. Farnham.
E.B. Farnham, 100%. Okay. Beautiful.
E.B.
Beautiful. I love it. Ironically, not too far away from IP. The huckster that conned a dude into doing touch putt in the park. Anyway, so another catch that I had for this week is, I don't know if you have this one on your list, Jerry MMA Show.
I do. I did not listen to all of it though, but it was good.
Episode 92 with Angie Hill, I'm guessing we're talking about.
Yes, that one.
It's real good. Angie Hill.
It was real good. Oh, she's awesome. Yeah, just by looking over some of the comments, and I generally avoid that when it comes to YouTube, but they were all very, very positive.
How do you not love Angie Hill?
Yeah.
She's just great. Like everything from her talking about her secret plan to be the nip slipper, where she's just like, yo, I'll go in and I'll secretly like pop girls' titties out, and then they'll want me to fight all the popular girls so we can see their titties. So it's like, yo, she just shouted out like, oh, we want to see Angie fight PVZ so we can see her titties. Just it's a great joke. Also, I feel like most women in the UFC would also think that's a great joke. Although I did like that she put, how dare she put our girl Leslie Smith on blast for that Rocky Pennington fight in Invicta. Anyway, we're gonna
but to be fair, she was like, Leslie Smith clearly didn't give a fuck.
No, and also we all know Leslie. There's a reason why that painting is right there. Oh, you can't see that. I have a painting of her right behind me as we say that, but and she's the logo in the middle of the motherfucking show. So, but yeah, just a great episode from Angie Hill. It's just a lot of fun. Surprising amount of union talk, which I thought was really cool. Mostly focused around healthcare, which I thought was really interesting because you don't normally hear people talk that openly about, like, Angie's like, I kind of fucking like the union talk because our healthcare system is broken as UFC fighters.
Well, yeah, because she talked about her own mental health. I wouldn't say issues, but struggles. Well, it was mostly deal with anxiety and
less like mental health issues, but more like mental coaching kind of stuff.
Yes,
like mentality kind of coaching. But she also talked about like how a lot of fighters. I mean, if you don't have a fight scheduled, they can kind of just fuck you if they don't want to pay for your medical bills, which is scary. And it was interesting to hear her talk about that, talk about how she got started, her changing her mentality after the Randa fight, all that stuff. Alliance and Eric Del Fiero, and why Eric Del Fiero is the best, because he doesn't want any goddamn attention ever, and he hates it. Excuse me. Which, I mean, it's obvious if you've ever... Actually, you've talked to Eric Del Fiero, right? Or was he just around at the gym?
He's a just kind of... He says that as it is. He just means business. He's a nice guy.
Yeah. Because you did an interview with him, right, for your project?
I didn't interview him for my thing. I just talked to him, just offhand. And just kind of talked to him for a couple minutes. A really cool guy, really nice guy. I definitely see why he's just a coaching material.
Well, and that was kind of my point. Is like he didn't want to do an interview. He just wanted to talk to you, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, he's very personable. I appreciate that about people. You would want, if I was training at that gym, like whether it's as professional or you say it doesn't matter what your goal is there.
You're just going in and getting work with Chris Stanley or whatever.
Yeah, I would love. I could tell why people love him so much.
Yeah, so he always seems like a super nice dude too. Like I don't know anybody that has a bad thing to say about Eric Del Fierro.
I mean, the guy was a firefighter too for a long time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, all of San Diego seems to fucking love that dude. Like there's a lot. He seems to be attached to like a lot of charities and stuff like that around too. So pretty cool. But yeah, just a really good episode. I mean, they talk about all kinds of wild stuff. They didn't even get into the alien stuff, which I thought they were going to. Which, like, Angie, or Rogan, I think, mentioned that, like, Angie's great-grandpa or somebody was one of, like, the big UFO conspiracy people back in the day.
Yeah, he got abducted, evidently.
Yeah, but
according to his original story.
Yeah, and Rogan posted that on Instagram. They didn't talk about it at all on the show. So I wonder if they're going to get into it down the road, because Angie is a great guest for that show. Like, I feel like she could be dope on it. There's also a lot of stuff that's not at all about MMA, like a lot of talk about Thailand and like animal sanctuaries and stuff like that. So just a fun one all around. Let's see.
I'm gonna have to watch it. I'm gonna have to watch it all the way through for sure.
Yeah, it's really good. The last half it definitely gets away from MMA, but then they kind of wrap it back around to a fight against Loma. Let's see. Do you have any other catches for this week?
Didn't have another catch. I have a couple mentions.
We'll get to those in a minute.
Yeah.
Because I got a couple catches. Actually, you heard a little bit of this catch that I had, which is the Between Rounds Roundtable for UFC Auckland, which is TJ DeSantis, Rob Tatum. God damn it, I don't have this in front of me. I'm trying to do it off the top of my head. I did not write down who was on the panel. I know it's Keith Sheehan, TJ Santis, Rob Tatum, and Ben Duffy from Sherdog. And it's a really good one. It's really funny. TJ jokes at the top of the show that they're doing a breakdown of the two Bellator cards, just trying to scare the panelists. And then Keith goes off and he's like, I'm down to break down the Bellator card. I'll talk about it after the end of the show, after everybody leaves if I have to, which is good. I talk about the Bellator tape delay and how fucked that is, and they coined the term asshole delay since it's not actually on tape anymore. Like, it's not tape delay because nothing's on tape. So it's literally just a file that's sitting on a hard drive until someone uploads it. So really it's just asshole delay, which I appreciated quite a bit. And they also had a Loma Lukbunmi pronunciation contest, which was pretty funny. And I still think I'm saying that wrong after hearing a pronunciation contest and a winner announced. So good luck with that. But yeah, overall, just a really good episode of Between Rounds Roundtable. I believe it's only premium on their Patreon, but it might come. I believe those shows come out later, like on a couple days after, if you're interested. And then the other catch that I have for this week is Collapsed MMA for UFC 52 Part 1, which is also a TJ DeSantis show hosted by Brandon from New Jersey. And it's really fucking good. I talked about at the top that this is the return of the show. It used to be hosted with Jordan Breen, but since Jordan Breen is no longer with Between Rounds because he's doing stuff over at MMA Junkie, and also, well, I'll get to it in a minute, but Jordan Breen went full Jordan Breen on the last episode of Collapsed MMA. There wasn't one after that. But I'm glad to see Brandon from Jersey taking over. It's a good fit. And UFC 52 is crazy. That is, of course, the Chuck versus... What's UFC 52? Chuck versus Randy? Now I'm having a panic attack about it. It's Chuck versus Randy, right? Not Chuck versus Tito. It's Chuck versus Randy too. And yeah, it's just so the part 1 episodes are always them leading into the card, and the part 2 is them going like full Laps fan style through the card on like a fight by fight breakdown and like breaking down the commentary and all the surrounding events. So the part 1 is just kind of talking about the era and all of the cringy shit around it, like creepy Chuck Zito hanging out behind Pamela Anderson and stuff like that. TJ evidently rewatched this card in a public library and kept getting super embarrassed because of the things that were on screen. Goldie is just like taking piss breaks during the entire card, evidently, and not doing any of his like soundbite gimmicks. Where he's like, he doesn't even say that people like, oh, and this fighter has an 82-inch reach, and the rest of the comparison is basically the same. You're like, that's not Mike Goldberg. It's not. You say virtually identical, or you say nothing. So it's just cool hearing them go back and talk about that. Talk about all the terrible hair and clothes on the card, and it's just really good. Also, I should mention briefly, TJ did shout us out on, what was it, Behind the Paywall on the Wedding Show 2.0, I believe is the name of it. He shouted out our show, which was cool of him. He actually, as a matter of fact, Chris, here is TJ's review of our show. You know, I like it, but like I don't really want to listen to drunk guys talk about podcasts. And I like
that checks the fuck out.
Yeah, 100%. I'd like to say as a counter, TJ, I've only had 3 shots of vodka, 1 Budweiser, a shot of what's that terrible fucking Fernet Branca, and this 9% beer. So not that drunk, sir. But
it's almost like hey, next time make sure one of us is sober or some shit.
Well, to be fair, TJ 100% doesn't drink. Like, he just doesn't really drink.
Okay.
So, like, I don't blame him at all. And we're super not his thing. He's a very, like, up-and-up radio dude and does everything by the book. So, like, we're super not his thing. But I just thought it was very funny that, like, he was very nice the whole time, but he was clearly, like, he was trying to word it in a way that wasn't going to piss me off. And I thought it was adorable. So I just wanted to shout that out as well.
It's like, so for TJ next time, we're like, all right, everyone, we're back.
Yeah, no, super sober show next week just for TJ. No, we're not doing that. So 100% not doing that. I have all of next week off, so I'm boozing hard. But yeah, just overall, really good episode of Collapse MMA, and I'm very happy to see that show back. Brandon from New Jersey is the perfect fit. If it wasn't going to be Jack Encarnacio, and even then, Jack is too much of a straight man like TJ is, so I don't even think that would work. So I'm very happy to see Brandon from New Jersey cackling his ass off throughout that show, because I'm a big fan. So very, very good stuff. Do you have any skips for this week?
It's not a skip. It's not a skip, but
well, if it's not a skip, don't skip it. Otherwise, if it's a skip,
I'll just mention it at the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well then, I actually don't have a skip either. So do you have any can't miss episodes for this week?
I do. My can't miss, and I don't know if it's going to be yours. I have no idea what yours is. Mine is the TSN MMA Show with Aaron Bronstetter.
I didn't listen to this, unfortunately. I didn't have time to get to it.
Yeah, so for those of you who saw... No, this was just on the pay-per-view 2 weeks ago. There was a fight between a middleweight matchup between Trevin Giles and the James Krause, in which
shit, I totally should have listened. You're right.
This is really good. I like this a lot because it was essentially Bronstetter putting on his journalist glasses and just kind of breaking down how you go digging about and doing web archives.
That motherfucker is very good at that shit. He does not get enough credit for being a real-ass journalist.
So basically what happened, just to kind of get people clued in who are kind of out of the loop, 2 weeks ago there was a fight between James Krause and Trevin Giles. I believe all 3 judges scored it unanimously. Or is it split? No, it was split. But the final judge, Joe Solis, who also evidently was the judge who fucking scored 4 rounds to John Jones, the same judge, gave the first round to Trevin Giles. And Aaron Bronstetter says, if you watch this fight with James Krause and Trevin Giles, that first round, James Krause had him in almost in rear naked choke, like fucking 4 out of the 5 minutes.
Well, and he clubbed the fuck out of him before he got him into that position, too.
So he's
closer to a 10-8 than a fucking 10-9 for Giles.
Yeah, and Bronstetter was basically like, I think if I had a group of 100 people and I asked them who won round 1, one person could maybe say Trevin Giles, and that
even then, like...
So yeah, but anyways, the point is, he ended up going on Facebook, and he was... looking, I can't remember, he looked at it, he's like, it's Joe Solis on Facebook, and he noticed mutual friends. He's like, what the hell? He's like, Trevin Giles. He's like, oh shit, what does this mean? So Trevin Giles, his mutual friend to Joe Solis, okay. He's like, time to do some digging. So he looked up the name of the gym that Trevin Giles currently trains at. It had no mention of Joe Solis in there, so he had to do archive search. Generally, if you do an archive search, either it's under analytical options, I think, on Google, or you have to do some sort of like advanced search engine. I think there's a fucking name.
There's a Wayback Machine too.
I had to use this in school. Google has an extension for it. Anyways, he used something similar to that, and he found in 2008, Joe Solis' name is showing up at this gym. He's like, oh shit, wonder why. So evidently, Joe Solis was awarded a black belt by a coach at that gym, and I think it was called MMA Elite, if I remember the name of the gym.
I think you're right.
Joe Solis' coach was Eric Williams, who is Trevin Giles' current head coach.
And cornerman during that fight.
So he's like, oh, fuck, now we got a conflict of interest here. So he's like, this isn't
about
good.
as clear conflict of interest as you get to.
Yeah, so Aaron then contacted Joe Solis.
For comment?
I think he contacted him on Facebook to comment. He's like, can I get an interview? I would love to hear your methodology of how you judge this fight. And Joe Solis respectfully declined, saying, unfortunately, the commission does not let us disclose our judging methods. Sorry. And he's like, okay, that's fair. So then Aaron contacted the current head coach of Trevin Giles, Eric Williams, and he spoke candidly about it. And honestly, so I didn't write down the details, but Eric Williams was saying, yeah, man, I coached Joe Solis. I awarded him his black belt. He's I think I've been coaching Trevin Giles. Trevin and Joe, I believe, were together at some point, training kind of, or at least just gym mates. He didn't say training together because he was careful with his words. So I didn't see that.
Of course,
that didn't come out of his mouth. But Aaron did notice, like, yeah, Eric was probably a little careful how he's wording everything as well too. He said he was more honest than he thought. He was very forthright compared to how he thought he initially would answer the question. Anyways, the point is, Aaron then goes, okay, this is fucking crazy. He contacted James Krause. James Krause then posted on his social media, on his Instagram, saying this is bullshit.
I saw those.
So now James Krause and James Krause's agent are appealing.
Yeah, House. I forget his first name.
Yeah, it's last name is House. Yeah, that's
Jason
interesting
House,
to me. I listened to about, I think, half of it. I think the episode was like an hour 15. Listened to about like 40 minutes of it. Really interesting stuff, especially if you're curious about how certain article or the more MMA style of digging. You don't even have to be a journalist to know how to do this.
No, you just have to be good at the internet.
Yeah, and you have to. Yeah, that's mainly what it is. You have to be good at digging and investigating, that kind of thing.
That's fascinating. I'm so glad you caught that because that sounds great. I am 100% going to listen to that.
Yeah, and then after that, he talked, of course, about Diego Sanchez and EB Farnham. I'm laughing right now as I say that, but
EB. No, it's not EB. It's EB. What?
It's Farnham.
Farnham, right? I keep thinking EP Barnum.
Or no, it's Barnum. No, it is E.B. Farnham.
No,
not
Barnum.
Farnham.
I know Barnum is Barnum and Bailey. I keep
Bailey's,
combining all the carnies.
Dude, there was someone at my work today. I'm like, what's the last name on your tabs for? He's like, Barnum. What a coincidence. God damn, I swear to God, someone's last name is Barnum. I'm like, wait, like Barnum and the circus? What? So yeah, he broke down. He kind of assessed the what do you call it? Twitter, right? You know how toxic Twitter is. Oh, Diego Sanchez should retire. He should hang up. And he's like, listen, I'm not. I mean, I think he should.
Yeah, he's taking too much head trauma.
Aaron
he's
was saying
all the signs of people who should not be taking more head trauma.
Aaron was saying, he's like, I'm not going to say on air, like, I think he should retire or not. He said, regardless of that fact, no one should say he quit. Because he said it's mostly based on Diego, even before the fight, said, I'm not fighting if Pereira doesn't even make weight. He's like, are you going to call someone a quitter after that? It's in the contract. It's in the stipulations. You have to make weight.
Well, not even that. Like, I think Jack Slack said on this week's show, like, it's an IQ test, whether or not you take that DQ. That's an IQ test. And Diego passed the IQ test, which is a good thing. Because it's either you make half your money or you don't. Yeah.
In between the eyes. Like, he said he couldn't see.
Even if he could see, You
Yeah.
take the fucking money, Lebowski.
Yeah, it was 75 to show, and he got 75 to win.
Is that what the actual number come out? Because the rumor was 100 and 100 on his last contract, but the new one I didn't hear come out.
Okay,
but
I heard Aaron say 75-75. Either way,
would know. Aaron would know.
Yeah.
So 70. That's a huge fucking pay difference. You will 100% take that difference.
Yeah. So, but yeah, good for Sanchez. It's unfortunate that E.B. Farnham. I'm gonna laugh every time I say that, just because I know that squirrely motherfucker looks like.
It's so good.
It's unfortunate that E.B. Farnham is in his ear and in his life. Yeah, man. That God damn it.
It's a bad look.
Yeah, because
Not
Aaron.
the first time
finally,
either. If y'all remember the Stevia days.
And, Stevia days.
Yeah, Diego once left Jackson's, moved to California, hooked up with the dude who was real into stevia spiritual healing, like healing with
By the way,
stevia.
I know this is gonna sound weird. You said hooked up with the dude. The reason why I'm mentioning that phrase is because fucking Ariel Helwani, he had a fucking thumbnail of when he interviewed both Diego and E.B. Farnham, and it was just the picture didn't look good out of context. Yeah, so
That's hilarious.
yeah, like some comments on YouTube were like, is E.B. Farnham molesting Diego? Because and I'm like, well, I'm not going to comment on that, but
maybe.
Sorry, going off on a fucking tangent, but Aaron's main point was like, regardless, like even if Diego quit, he would still go to like bare knuckle boxing or some shit. Like
Right.
the dude doesn't want to quit fighting, and
No, 100%. Or
yeah, one
Bellator
last
would 100% pick him up.
even if we had like say 300 journalists from the Mixed Martial Artists Journalists Association, who by the way is headed by President Ben Folks. He said, yeah, even if we got Ben Folks to hand Diego this letter saying, hey man, we all think you should retire, he's like, Diego would either frame it so that he wins another fight and says, see, I proved all these people wrong, or he would just throw it in the fireplace. And it's like, well, that's fair enough.
Right.
So
Also, is it really an association when they don't do fucking anything? What have they done?
I don't even know if it's called association. He's called the MMA JA.
It is. It's the MMA Journalists Association. But they don't do a fucking thing. They send out newsletters once a year, and they take their dues, like every other fucking association. Oh, by the way, where's Josh Gross's motherfucking credentials? If they're an association. Isn't that what the fuck those are for?
Yeah, for the most part.
Isn't the entire idea to get credentials for people who are having trouble getting credentials, who deserve them?
Yep. It's kind of how that works. So that's what I had for my can't miss. I thought it was very interesting to listen to.
Yeah,
Aaron does a great job.
That's a fantastic can't miss. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah. So shouts out, or no shouts out to E.B. Farnham, that idiot.
Yeah. I'm so glad we're not using his fucking name anymore, because I got so upset that everybody kept using his name and promoting him, because that's exactly what he wants. It's all he wants.
Watch him go, hey, even though it's impossible he's going to listen to us unless we tweet it out. Or like, this is some podcast with a bunch of fucking demons that were like, just kind of tarnishing my name, and their bad chi was just really getting rid of my it was I don't know, I can't even talk like that.
Don't worry, dude. He's gonna do all of the fucking yoga to get it out of his system. He's gonna fucking harness the cheese and the power of the universe.
And he's gonna fart out all
He's gonna
the
hug
fucking
all the crystals and just get it taken care of.
Dude, he's like fucking Kevin Nealon in that scene from Happy Gilmore where he's like it's like a carousel. Put in the quarter, the energy goes around, block out bad, let in good, positive. You know what I mean? Like that's when I think of E.B. Farnham, I think of him.
Pretty much, yeah.
From Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, you could, any of those fucking hucksters for sure.
Yeah, god damn it.
Well, on that note, so my can't miss episode this week is, well, actually, Hasta La Vista, babies. It's her last episode. I don't really have anything to say about the actual episode itself. It was really good. It's very cheeky, Fernanda. hilariousness, and I enjoyed it. She kept comparing the end of her show to the TV show Popular, which evidently she really enjoys and thinks is underrated, which now I'm going to have to watch the TV show Popular because that sounds real good. But yeah, really my can't miss is don't miss Well Actually as a podcast. There's a link in the description, or if you go to our website, there'll be a link there. Look up Well Actually, the podcast. I promise you there's no other show you've heard that's like it. I tweeted Fernanda this on Twitter, and I stand by it. I hope she does another show shortly. I told her we will help her get it off the ground. Honestly, I would hope that we can connect her with TJ Sanchez and make that happen, because I think he is the perfect producer to put out a show like that. But nobody in MMA podcasting is doing anything close to what Fernando is doing with Well Actually, and I cannot emphasize enough how important that fucking show is for just the history of MMA podcast. That is a fucking, as far as I'm concerned, it's a turning point in the discussion in MMA podcast that I think it will have forever changed it. And I think in 10 years from now, if we were to go back and listen to that show, I think she's going to be talking about a lot of really interesting, pertinent shit that people were sleeping on. So everybody go listen to Well Actually. I believe it was a total of 39 episodes that range from, I think, like down to like 15 or 20, 30 minutes, somewhere in there, up to an hour or so. And man, are they worth it. So absolutely go check out Well Actually with Fernanda Praches, and hit her up on Twitter and tell her she's doing great things, because she is. So that's my can't miss.
Nice. I'm gonna have to.
That's right. You never actually listened to any of that fucking show.
I'm the biggest shithead there is.
Well, you know what? Next week, Chris is for his new show is going to listen to Well Actually and let us know his thoughts on it. Deal?
That's a deal.
All right. I'm excited about it. So, do you have a new show for this week?
I do not.
Well,
no,
I'm excited to hear your takes on the new show next week. I did listen to a new show, and I fucking kind of really like it. It's called TKO, TEAKO, Episode 8. It's hosted by Delilah and Chelsea, which is, I always enjoy hearing female hosts in the MMA podcast sphere. It's pretty fucking rare. I could probably name all of them on one hand.
It's refreshing, yeah.
Yeah, well, and also they're salty and saucy and fucking real funny. I enjoyed it. Unfortunately, this episode was taped last week and released on the 19th, which is always kind of a bummer. I always hate tape-delayed releases, but I get it. Not everybody is a fucking shit-eating wild man like me and just stays up till 4 in the morning editing. And I understand. You guys are human beings, and you probably live a much more healthy life about it. But it was really, I like this episode quite a bit. They recap UFC 247. They talk about everything from Ewell's injured arm to Murphy versus Lee. They were both shocked that Laura Murphy is only 35 years old. Like, they're audibly shocked, which, I mean, kind of surprising too, but they also talk a lot about Juan Adams probably getting cut and how badly Val smashed Chooks. They talked a lot of shit about Reyes last week, evidently, but they were super impressed by him. They did some fight announcement talk, and then they previewed a little bit of Hooker versus Felder, and they talked about how sad they are that no one is scared of Robbie Lawler anymore. And overall, I really enjoyed it. It's a fun show. Like, they had a fun recap. They definitely are one of those shows that is more on the fan side of things. I don't mean that to be insulting. I just mean that to be, they are not afraid to just like dunk on and shit on people if they don't like them. Like, they're real not happy with Juan Adams, and they said some not nice things. So I don't know. That's always weird. I don't know. I'm one of those weird fucking people who feels like they have to be overly careful about everything, and I try and have fucking journalistic integrity, even though I'm not a goddamn journalist. So what do I know? But I
think I'm damage control, right?
Yeah, you basically are. You're part of the reason why I don't just say wild shit on this show. Well, that's not true at all. I say all kinds of wild shit. I take that back. But I really like TKO. I'm going to be listening to it going forward for sure. If for no other reason, it's always interesting to hear just a different perspective, and they're absolutely that. So I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna make a quick note. podcast to check out next week. So you said that one was. I know I'm gonna listen to Fernandez.
Yeah, well, actually, with
you said-
Fernanda and TKO.
Yep.
Like spilling, like sipping
Like tea.
Yep.
Like I'm drinking right now. TKO podcast, and then actually.
Yeah, those are both really good. So there you guys go. We'll get Chris listening to some new shit finally.
Oh yeah, no, I remember I used to go on that one website, or I shouldn't say used to. I haven't visited that one website.
MMApodcast.com.
Well, I go to that every time, but there was one that kept consistently posting new ones. I think it was called like FM something. Yeah, I think you like literally do a Google search. It's like new MMA podcasts, and some person,
Interesting.
Bless their heart, they keep posting like date relevance and shit too.
Oh, cool. You should find that.
Yeah. I'll
before
you in the
before
chat.
you look that up. Oh, there you go. Never mind. Yeah, no, you'll look that up because I'm interested to hear what that is. 'Cause that sounds dope. Let's see. So while Chris is doing that, we talked about HalfCast podcast, which was our intro. Our break clip is one of my honorable mentions, which is MMA and Beyond, episode 104, which is real solid. It was it's Ray, the Manimal, and Steve Lee, and it's just a really good episode. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Basically, Ray Longo is just fresh off the plane from New Mexico. They talk about the card. And you guys will hear the clip of what Merab told the ref before the fight, but it's hilarious. Ray also tells a great story about going out on Valentine's Day. It looks like it's, what is it, listennotes.com/podcast/MMA?
Yeah, like I just looked at it right now, and the guy already posted stuff today.
Yeah,
that was like,
listennotes.com is really good. I think a lot of it's either user generated or it's part of it's bot generated, I believe, too.
I can see that, yeah, and that probably makes the most sense.
But I know a lot of
that's
it's
how
user generated.
Okay.
So that's cool. But yeah, this is a really good episode of the MMA and Beyond, episode 104. Just because it's cool hearing Ray Longo talk about the Merab fight and how much everybody loves Merab. And then they talk about how they went out to dinner on Friday before the fight to this Italian place, but they didn't realize it's Valentine's Day. So
That's pretty great.
And Aljo's with them, and the entire time he's just fucking miserable because there's like long waits and they're having to deal with all this bullshit, and Aljo's just like fucking losing it. It's pretty good. They also tell a couple fucked up plane stories, and they talk about the 2 illegal knees and why the fighter should be suspended. Which Ray makes a good fucking point. How come athletic commissions don't suspend fighters when they don't know the rules? That happens in every other sport. Why don't we do that in MMA?
That's how it happens just in a lot of parts of, how would I call it?
Like if you have an infraction, like a severe rule infraction, that's like a fucking, you get suspended for at least a game in most sports, right?
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah. Think about it this way. Think about it in a caste system, whether you're in school, whether it's public school or a grade school, right? You break a rule at school, you're suspended because you weren't following the rules. It's any fucking thing you can apply the stipulations to.
Well, especially in such an extreme fucking thing, like in those 2 illegal knees were so blatant.
Yeah, or just like, speaking of baseball, which has been making the rounds with the Houston Astros, the unfortunate thing, though, is they have a corrupt commissioner, Rob Manfred, who's a fucking coward, and I will say that every time I talk about him. It's like, oh, yeah, but then again, the players are protected by the union, so that's a whole new thing.
Oh, weird. You mean MMA fighters don't have these kinds of rights? Because
evidently not. Yeah, last time I checked. Yeah. But yeah, if you're a big baseball fan, you definitely don't like the Houston Astros, and their 2017 title should be stripped, but it won't because then they could face potential lawsuits from Vegas bettors, odds makers, that kind of thing too. Like, oh, what about all the money I made? Blah, blah. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I think that's the real reason why they don't want to have to deal with potential lawsuits, which I don't know if there's any grounds for that.
They just don't.
There probably is.
Also, they just
Yeah,
don't.
and they don't care. And the players are a bunch of pussies too that were involved. Like, oh well, sorry, not sorry. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that tends to be how that shit goes.
I mean, yeah. Except if you're FIFA, then again, FIFA's a whole other thing.
Well, that's because they have more money than God.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's really what it is. Like FIFA has to be worth like probably more than the NFL and MLB and NBA combined.
It's probably
like
all
three.
Sports combined, honestly.
Yeah, like all 4 major sports, throw in the NHL too.
No, I would say all sports maybe.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. They have ungodly. The players are making ungodly amounts of money. Fuck what the,
And then
what
it's
the
always-
owners
it's also
are
the-
making. Fuck what FIFA
those-
is making with the licensing.
I mean, it's all the Spanish teams like Barcelona, Real Madrid that are just worth like I don't even know. I don't even want to know. It's just an ungodly amount. It's like, oh, you think the Dallas Cowboys are worth a lot? Look at Barcelona or look at that's like Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But yeah, all I got left is whenever you want to.
What are your honorable mentions?
I'll start with Believe You Me. It was episode 200, baby boy.
Yes, dude, it was really good, right?
Yeah, I liked it.
Probably just because Lewis was gone, and Harrington was filling in, but also Karen Bryant's call was good too.
Yeah, there was a whole thing with Henry Cejudo, who still hasn't defended his belt yet. I know he's recovering from surgery. I get that.
Bisping says he might be getting stripped.
Yeah, that one surprised me. He's a fucking moron. Who does he remind you of, right? Anyways, Mike says he can't roll his eye hard enough. That's more self-deprecation, right? Gotta love it.
Bisping's eye jokes have gotten real good. Like, that dude is clearly working on a routine about how.
I guarantee you, like, he's probably seen that scene from Wayne's World too. You know, where they have the application for Wayne stock, you know, and then Kevin Pollak has the ocular albinism. You remember that scene, though?
Right, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think, but. So he said, Henry, you need to stop jumping around weight classes. It's getting out of hand. It's fucking ridiculous. Then Karen Bryant's on to address the racist banter between Cejudo and Aljamain Sterling.
Karen Bryant's on while on a tram to Six Flags from the parking lot with crystal clear quality, I'd like to add.
I know, that was impressive.
Yeah.
So basically, Cejudo, he's trying to stir the pot with he called him Al Jemima. I know looking at Reddit, a lot of non-American anime fans are like, what is that? And if for people who don't know, Aunt Jemima was a racist caricature made up, I think, in the 40s.
Yeah, well, it's the mammy. They basically used the mammy and they made it a character. Also, you don't have to be a genius to find out if it's racist. Just Google pictures of Aunt Jemima, and you'll see the fucking blackface shit immediately. It's like the what's that old terrible chain that they talked about in Ghost World? It's like that old diner chain. It's the same kind of thing where it's just like the most extreme blackface caricatures.
So and I was looking at some of the Twitter stuff too,
it's
and
bad,
they're like,
dude. It's
someone's
so
like,
bad.
how come Karen Bryant can't call Aljo out on racism and because Aljo called Cejudo burrito belly, and Karen said, well, I don't have any Latin blood, so I'm not going to speak on behalf of that, and I think that's fair. I mean,
100%, but also I would argue burrito belly is way less offensive than like fucking.
Way less offensive.
If he called him a Mexican, like leaning against a cactus, maybe that would be more.
Or if he called him like a border jumper or some stupid dumb shit like that.
Right, or like any of the. It's like, I don't know. I think all these conversations are.
It's all hypersensitive too.
Most of the conversations that happen are just online bullshit. Where whenever you hear people actually have conversations.
What did Cejudo call Peter Yan? He called him like a fucking potato farming communist.
That was arguably at least as bad. It was pretty rough. Also, he keeps trying to tell him to speak English.
Yeah,
it's bad. Well, to be fair though, Henry's probably only writing like 5% of that.
By the way, that reminds me of I always will shout out MMA World, one of my favorite YouTube aggregator channels, and I don't mean that in any disrespectful way.
No,
that guy does a great job. Who runs that channel of just breaking down quotes from podcasts and just kind of MMA snippets. Always 10 minutes. Whoever does that. Fucking good on you, dude. I love watching that. And what's funny though is that
too to do that much. You have to listen to so much. It's like this show. You have to listen to so much to get to the good stuff.
What I like is at the end of each episode, he has some sort of meme format. And this one, it showed video of Islam Makhachev. Basically, it showed Javier Mendez, the coach of AKA. He said, Islam, you got like a fight contract or something like that. And he's like, can you read it for us or something like that? Or what does this say from the UFC? And he's like saying, I can't really read English. And then the meme on MMA World, it showed his tweets that were in perfect English. You know, like calling out who was he calling out? It wasn't Kevin Lee. I think it was Ali Quinta or someone, right? Of course, because guess who's writing that? Ali Abdelaziz. So the whole meme is it showed like a snippet from the Scooby Doo. And you want to unmask someone. The first one they unmasked was Islam. And the other one, it's like, who is this? And it was fucking a snippet of Conor McGregor going, Ali the rat, or something like that, as it shows his face.
Pretty good.
And just like fucking perfect timing. So yeah, always big ups to that channel. That's honestly how I get. I mean, the snippets I get from that are it's from a lot of podcasts I already listen to, but a lot of it too, it's like Twitter shit. Because I don't ever like to follow Twitter beefs. Whenever I'm on Twitter, it's for news.
Yeah, I get notified by all of them because I follow too many fucking MMA accounts.
I had to turn off my notifications for Twitter, man. It was kind of getting out of hand.
Yeah, that happens. Cool. Do you have any other honorable mentions?
Yeah, Heavy Hands, and I'll kind of get into their breakdown of the main event and our next segment.
403, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
I think maybe 304. One of those.
Depending if we're dyslexic or not, right?
Well, I'll tell you right now, because I think I might be. That sounded like a loud thud. I wonder what that was. Probably an angry girlfriend. Karen looks like 304.
All right.
So evidently I'm dyslexic. Good to know. Let's see. Some honorable mentions that I had. Submission Radio episode 201 was really, really good. They had Kai Kara France, Shane Young, Dan Hooker, and Eugene Behrman on. Fits in a Fighter with Ricky Simone, also really good. Fits in a Fighter Personal Development with Saif Saud was really good. Between the Links episode 40 was an all loudmouth panel with Keith, Craig, Davidson Baker, and Kyle Steele. That was really solid. The MMA Vivisection for UFC Auckland I really enjoyed. Severe MMA episode 247. Really good episode from Shawnee Podcast. Also, Sean Sheehan came up with the greatest card of all time. Now, I am one to have said over and over, I have trouble getting excited for Irish Sports Star cards. However, if Sean Sheehan pitches, the only way to do a pay-per-view in Ireland is to do it on St. Patrick's Day with Irish Sports Star headlining, and you do it during the day because the U.S. will be drinking during the day anyway. And I am so on board with that idea. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So big shout outs to Sean Sheehan for that idea. Eurobash episode 70 was really solid with interviews with James Gallagher, Molly McCann, Liam McCourt. Those were all really good. Believe You Me episode 200. Or sorry, no, it was just Molly McCann talking about Liam McCourt, now that I think about it. Believe You Me episode 200 we talked about. The MMA Roadshow episode 256. It's cool to hear Cold Coffee still on the up and up, recovering and doing a bit better. They also talk about the insane shit with Diego's coach, and John played an interview with Chiesa talking about Diego's coach, which is pretty cool. Because did you hear Diego's coach said, what is it, E.B. Farnham?
Yes, what did EB have to say?
E.B. Farnham said,
sweating?
E.B. Farnham, did you hear that he warned the Nevada State Athletic Commission before the fight with Chiesa?
Oh my God.
That he was going to Stone Cold Stunner and kill him. So,
he's going to might break his neck.
Yeah.
Might break his neck.
It's insane. So John Morgan did an interview with Michael Chiesa about that, and Michael Chiesa thought it was all hilarious. He actually heard about it in the back while that was going on, and he's like, that's the funniest shit. There's also interviews with Dan Hooker and Paul Felder on there, and Kevin Iole talking about boxing, which, CME episode 389 was good because Chad loves President's Day, and I'm fucking here for it. Beatdown, the Beatdown episode with TJ was really good. TJ and I forget who his co-host on Beatdown is right now. Anyway, they had Brock Weaver on, and here, this is TJ's excuse to call me a drunk again. Fair. They had Brock Weaver on, though, to talk about getting the DQ win, which was interesting. And the Mookie and Crookie show for UFC Rio Rancho, which I called Rancho Rio about 1,000 fucking times last week. I called the episode title Rancho Rio. I fucked that name up every time. And you know what? I'm still not...
I think it's because my dumbass thought it was card. It was like, it's in Rio. And I was like, oh, we're in Brazil. Like, no, we're in Rio Rancho.
It's a combination of that and Rancho Bernardo and Rancho Cucamonga all fucking me up. Which I'm with Sean Sheehan. Rancho Cucamonga is not a real place.
What about Rancho Penasquitos, that neighborhood,
there
right?
you go. there's a lot of ranchos near us. Well, on that note, I'm gonna go get some rancho. Or fuck, I fucked up my own.
I thought we were gonna get some rancho sauce.
I was gonna say huevos rancheros, but I fucked it up. Okay. But anyway, I am gonna actually go grab another beer because I am just about out of this delicious beer from the brewery. But when we get back, we're gonna very briefly talk about this UFC Auckland card, which it's pretty good. Also, holy shit, Ed Ruth lost right before we started talking about this. Man, he fucking, that was a hell of a fight, but couldn't quite keep the pace. So we'll be back talk about this Auckland card, and we would talk about Bellator Dublin, but they're fucking tape delaying it, so fuck that shit. So we'll be back. In the meantime, listen to this clip of Ray Longo talk about Merab explaining to the ref how he should not stop the fight no matter what.
Liked by the sound of violence.
We're in the dressing room, and the ref comes in to give, they always go over, look, we're on the old unified rules and blah, blah, blah. You got any questions? And Merab's, and this guy I never saw before. He's a new guy from New Mexico, for us anyway. He's like, yes, and he was speaking very quietly. I think maybe because waking the weight, and he kind of talks slow anyway, but he was basically trying to tell the guy he wants to die in there. Please do not stop the fight. No, please do not stop the fight. Even if I'm in a bad position, I'm okay. And I think he's trying to explain to the guy that there was a fight in the past where he was okay, and they said he was out, and he just wanted the guy to know he's prepared to die. Like, please don't come.
I'm fine.
And the guy's looking at him like he's not even. I don't even think the guy understands what he's saying. He's just nodding his head and. Look at but this was the concern. Like, what is it? One hand down when you can't knee a guy. He didn't care about that. He just wanted to let the guy know he was prepared to die,
no matter what it looks like.
No matter what it looks like. Even death is okay. Do not stop the fight.